Can you tell us what your situation was with your son before you started the program?
So before we did program, about a year ago, Noah was in a spot where we daily feared for his safety, because of the way he treated himself, the way he processed things. We just knew that he was not happy with what was going on in his body, and we knew that there was something that we needed to find
An answer to.
an answer to.
Can you tell me about the fingernails and all of those kinds of things?
I would go into his room the next day when he was gone at school and make his bed and do something, and I would find underneath his mattresses, underneath his floor, if I would vacuum, that would hide my sewing scissors or the nail clippers or pins from my sewing quilt, anything sharp. And he would dig at, I noticed when I'd give him a bath at night that all of the pads on his fingers and palms and all the pads on his toes looked like a rat had eaten them. They were all chewed and raw because he would cut and dig at his skin constantly.
And how about as far as his physical safety? What are some of the kinds of things he did that made you fear for him hurting himself?
He had no concept of thinking through. He was very extremely impulsive, and so if he thought something, he would immediately do it. He didn't think about how it would hurt him. We found him he tied his ankles up and threw a rope over the tree, and we found him hanging from the tree. We have found his brother caught him tying his hands and his ankles together with a rope just as he was getting ready to fall into the pool, because he wanted to see if he could get out of the ropes of the knots like Houdini. And his brother caught him right before he fell into the deep end. We've had to have the fire department to get him out. He climbed up about 50 feet up in a tree just because he wanted to see what it was like, to see what that was like.
Did you feel safe leaving him alone?
No. I wouldn't even go outside to get my mail without having a visual on Noah, because I didn't know what he would do in that amount of time.
And how was sleeping for him?
Sleeping was probably the worst time of the day. He would have meltdowns when he'd have to go to bed at night, to where first it was just a struggle to get him in the room and in bed and staying in bed. But then once that happened, it was just the meltdowns, not wanting to go to sleep, and it would be a crying, 4 hours, 3 hours, to get him to the point where he would just finally fall asleep, probably because he was exhausted.
And you were exhausted too.
And I was exhausted. And I was in tears, and he was in tears.
And then when he fell asleep in such a difficult way, would he sleep in the morning?
No, he was still up. As soon as the sun came up, his eyes were open, and he was up, and it was never a restful sleep. And there would be many times in the middle of the night he would still get up and come into our bedroom at least 2 or 3 times, needing something, wanting something, not being able to sleep, not being comfortable, something didn't feel right on his skin, his sheets bothered him, something, to where we were still up with him, and a couple times in the middle of the night trying to settle him down.
And he's 10 at this point?
10. Mm-hmm.
And things bothering him. What about his clothes?
His skin was very particular an issue with him, and he'd only have one pair of socks that he would wear, one certain type of shoes. He could not have tie shoes, because if he tied them, they didn't feel the same on each foot, or the shoelaces didn't hang the same. So he was very tags, anything on his skin. He basically had one outfit that was his favorite outfit that he would wear that felt okay for him.
And before you started the program, what kinds of things were you doing to help him?
As far as medically,
Mm-hmm.
We visited a neurologist that he saw regularly. He was on the medications. He was on 2 different type of medications. One for the anxiety, because he just couldn't handle life, and one for his attention.
And you've been on program 12 months now.
Mm-hmm.
And how is Noah doing now?
And he's completely weaned off all of his meds. He does not do any medication. He doesn't see his neurologist anymore. He's made significant changes in...
How's sleeping?
He... Now, putting him to sleep is more just like an 11-year-old little boy that doesn't want to go to sleep because he doesn't want to stop swimming or playing or doing what he's doing for the day, but he knows the routine. He'll go to bed. He'll stay in bed all night. He doesn't get up in the middle of the night to come to us anymore, and there's no meltdowns when he goes to sleep.
And how long does it take him to go to sleep?
If he's had a hard day as far as physical activity, he's asleep 15, maybe 20 minutes.
And how about his clothes?
And I can buy him something now, bring it home, put it on the bed. He'll put it on, walk out the door, and he still has his favorite clothes, but he's able to put something else on. If that one's dirty or if he's not able to find it or something, he can still function.
And how about being able to leave him alone?
We left him alone for the first time just recently, and he's able to... I don't fear anymore as far as he's going to hurt himself or do something dangerous if we leave and run a trip to the grocery store or something and come back.
And what about the fingernails and all
He's
those?
not clipping anymore. His fingernails have grown out. The skin on his feet and his palms have all healed. They're not raw anymore.
And how about the variety of foods that he eats now?
Now compared to before program,
Mm-hmm.
Much more. He will eat things now because I tell him this is what he needs to eat, and he'll eat the variety of it. They may not be his favorite, but before it was maybe one or two things that he was eating, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. And so now pretty much a wide variety.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And how is his relationships with other people in the family going?
He's able to function better in the family. He's able to... His siblings don't want to kill him as much. He's able to express his needs, express his concerns without falling apart. Things can change. He can transition now from one thing to another without it being a huge, huge ordeal.
And what about your ability to take trips?
He just came back from a trip with the whole family, and he did beautifully. He was able to transition. He was able to enjoy himself. He went with a friend. He was able to be a regular member of the family where we didn't have to alter our daily routine and things that we did because of Noah's needs.
Excellent.